shoes and food.
All right, think about this. Exposure and experience accelerates evolution. Now, that's both good and bad because whatever you're exposed to and whatever you experience, it immediately takes you to a higher level of living and thinking.
That's right.
So if you are a person that's going at the right pace in life and you start to experience new trips, new islands, new food, it now evolves you to a place where the things that you experienced prior, they may not necessarily be as appealing to you as they once were. Right. But if you have a young kid that's exposed to something prematurely and they do something, that's why when a girl is doing too much as a young girl, they call her fast.
That's right.
Because she's accelerating her evolution. I think it's important for us to teach people the proper pace in life.
That's right.
That you appreciate what you have while you have it, but you still have to expose yourself to more and experience more so that you can accelerate your evolution process. And we all come from small towns,
Right.
Especially you. You come from Buchanan, Michigan.
Buchanan, Michigan. 1 out of 5 black students in my class never have really exposed even black culture. Like outside of that. So everybody not to say that everybody I hung with was streets or something like that, but maybe it's a small group of people.
Yeah.
So if I don't fit in with them and I already don't fit in with the whites, like exposure.
You ain't got too many options.
I didn't have a lot of options. And so, I found myself needing exposure.
Yeah.
So I think the first exposure opportunity for me is like going to Tennessee State to get to be around people who look like me. My whole high school career, people calling me, "Oh, you talk white, you lame, you're a nerd."
Yeah.
But now I get to go be around people who are brilliant, who are engineers, scientists, and all these kind of things. So just that level of exposure right there, like, took me to a whole different place.
Dude,
in life.
when you left Buchanan, you probably don't remember this, Mill. You might have been in Brooklyn, I think.
I think I was already gone.
Yeah, I'll never forget, man, because he was gonna go. I think he was gonna go local.
I was gonna go to either Ball State or Michigan.
There you go, which is local. I mean, it's close within proximity of driving or whatever. And a couple hours.
Right.
Man, he went down to Tennessee State University, all black campus. That boy came back. He said, "Yeah, cuz I'm never coming back." It's like that. Was it Harlem Nights?
Hey, tell your mom I ain't
Tell
never
your
coming.
mom, tell your mom I ain't come home ever.
Nah, man, but that was awesome because when I got an opportunity to actually go down there with you, and I saw all these thousands of African American beautiful black people, they wasn't fighting because y'all know where we from.
Yeah.
If you get 50 black people in the room, they're gonna
rare.
start fighting. So it was awesome to see you get that level of exposure because when you came back, you were talking different, you were thinking different, you were producing, you was rapping. I remember you was kind of shy as a kid.
Most definitely, it brought me out of my comfort zone. It forced you out your comfort zone, and so I'll say that exposure forces you out your comfort zone. We say a thing that you have to be comfortable being uncomfortable. So that puts you sometimes in an uncomfortable position if you go to an island that you've never been to. You're at a house and a lizard is running in your bedroom. Like, what do I do? Because I'm not used
Leave
to
if you mean.
If you look at a menu at a place you've never been and they don't have burgers and fries and you got to eat.
Yes.
So you're uncomfortable, but you got to try.
You got to try.
When my brother went to New York, when you left South Bend and you went to New York and you came back, your thinking and what you were explaining to me about what you saw, it changed everything.
It changed everything. I mean, for my situation, I wanted to go into music with hip hop. There was really no way that I could do that locally. So I didn't, it wasn't like I, went one step up. I went all the way up. I went from
to the Mecca.
Literally, I went to the Mecca of hip hop. So I went from South Bend, Indiana, where everything is relatively slow, to Brooklyn and Manhattan and Queens and Staten. So it was like complete culture shock, you know what I'm saying? And I had to get used to that whole process and going through that and learning about the industry and things like that. But if I had never left South Bend, I would have never even had an opportunity to experience any of that. So it was definitely necessary.
You experiencing what you experiencing what you experiencing, I'm still here. But I'm traveling the country, preaching, doing music, etc. So we come back together and we having these conversations. And your exposure is accelerating my evolution because you guys are teaching me things that I'm like, I never would have ever thought about that.
Well, and vice versa. So now you have somebody to feed off exposure with. Like if the people that you hang with never expose anything,
they can't relate.
They can't relate.
Yeah.
Like and I could tell you about it a billion times. I can show you a picture, I can show you a video, but until you go experience it for yourself, you'll never get it.
No, that's a powerful point because even down to how we eat now,
right.
Like all of us will come back like, yo, I tried this when I was in Dallas, or you'll say, with you doing your video work
Right.
now, like I was over in Belize or I was
Yeah.
in Brazil and now we all over here. We can see it, we can
Right.
smell it, we fasten. Man, one time I was in New York with my brother. This is Mickey had a show.
Yeah.
And Mill,
This was how long? 7, 8
something
years
like
ago?
that. How long did you live in Brooklyn?
I was there for almost 6 years.
Okay, so we in Brooklyn, B. We walking down the street and we hungry because we got to go to the show. We in the hood.
Yeah.
So we walk in. He transforms into it's like an Autobot.
Hey.
He literally like
I can't help it. It's like,
Right.
he
I mean,
became New York so quick.
it's hard not to, man.
But it was so
sucks you in.
funny because he knew everything that we were supposed to do.
Right.
So I was like, yo, let's go to this pizza place. He's like, nah, son, we ain't going to that pizza place. That one is Mr. Luigi.
Right.
He got rats. You know what I'm saying? And they're like, nah, we go. And they call it pie. He's like, nah, we going to go to this pie spot. My brother took me to a place that was selling videotapes and pizza.
Videotapes and pizza at the same time.
The
Yeah.
pizza was so fire. Then I get the regular pizza. I'm like, yo, I'm gonna, eat it like. He's like, nah, you gotta fold that, boy.
You gotta fold it.
Yeah. It's
That's
too
part
big.
of-
It's too big.
That's
Eat
right.
regular.
That's part of New York culture is folding
Yeah.
pizza. Actually, people they make jokes about it, but some people have gotten divorces over the fact that one of them folds their pizza and the other one doesn't. Like that's how serious they are about it.
I remember the first time I went, the last time I went, we went to a pizza place. It was called Artichoke Pizza.
Okay.
And you put all these different things on it. And I never had been to New York. New York is one of the only places in the United States that I hadn't been that I wanted to go to.
Wow.
And I remember taking that pizza. I'm like, what am I supposed to do with this? Like, you gotta fold it.
Like
Yeah,
a
like a
sandwich.
You
sandwich.
gotta
man.
fold it. Yeah.
No, but it's expanded you guys the way you think, the way you move. And I believe that it also shows you how much more potential you have when you've been exposed to something. Because again, if I'm experiencing more, it doesn't discredit where I come from.
That's right.
Doesn't discredit what I experience. Because when you go to New York, people that have never been to Indiana, you're telling them about what it's like in Indiana. People that have never been to Michigan,
Right.
you're in Tennessee telling them what it's like in Michigan. So it's all of these experiences and all of this exposure, it accelerates our thinking process.
I think it accelerates thinking. And for me, it increases faith.
There you go. That's
So
good.
now, okay, I always say I want to be. Sometimes in church you say, turn to your neighbor and say you want to be a millionaire.
Right.
And I always say I want to be a millionaire.
Speaking into
Until I start getting exposed to billionaires. So now I'm like,
Oh,
my
the
faith increased. I got to
faith
be a
went up.
billionaire.
Yeah.
So now all the ushers in the back know. They say, "What's up, billionaire beat?" Because that's what I speak. Because my exposure changed.
You
So I think
saw it.
increased faith.
It's a reality for you. When you went down, you was doing hip hop.
Yeah.
And I remember he told us this. He came back. He was working for Source. He was doing stuff with Bad Boy. And we're still big fans from television.
Right.
Because we ain't been around none of that.
Yeah.
I'll never forget. My brother broke my heart. He came home. Him and Darius. Rest in peace, my cousin Darius Dream Ali. They came back home and they were like, "Bro, them video sets all rented."
It's fake.
Yeah.
Now this is back in the '90s, so you don't know that a lot of this stuff is fake.
Yeah.
He's like, "Oh no, man, that Lamborghini you saw,
Right.
oh that was rented."
Going right
So
back.
I'm like, bro, so and so, I ain't gonna say their names. That wasn't his car, nah, bro. The jewelry wasn't his. He lived in the projects by us. But in the video, you see. So then once he said that to us, I never forget. We started looking at it different. Like
Look at it different.
they broke. But if you don't have that exposure to that knowledge, then you really do believe the fantasy, which has a lot of kids chasing things, thinking all I got to do is rap and I'm gonna be a multimillionaire because he's a multimillionaire.
Right.
When this dude owe the government, he work at McDonald's.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
The Emerald City looks beautiful, like when you're from afar and as you walk up on it, it's a
about it?
beautiful thing.
Yeah.
When you actually get in there and pull the curtain back and see the wizard,
Wow.
most times you want no parts of none of that.
Don't look at the man behind the
They,
curtain.
they don't want you to look because once you see, it's like, nah, I don't want no parts of this. Like it's that real. But I needed that experience, and I'm thankful for that because I can pass that obviously, like we talked about last week, to other people who are trying to get into the music industry or be a part of that. To let them know, man, there's some things out there you got to be very, very careful with. So,
Well, if you think of exposure, so I run a video production company.
Right.
So I think of exposure, like lights are exposure, right? So exposure in a camera setting determines how bright or how dark an image is.
Right.
So metaphor, we all rap. So metaphor, like exposure in real life, can affect the brightness of your future, the vividness of your
That's
future.
good. That's good.
Right?
good.
Because if you're exposed to a lot, you like just like a kid who's promising. He does soccer, he does baseball, he does hockey. Like, you got a bright future ahead of you.
Yeah.
You got this other kid who does nothing. You don't say this. So that's really like a real life comparison between a photo and like your future.
You know what, man? It's good that you said that because even now to kids that really are only exposed to dark.
To dark.
That's why they have such a behavior that is detrimental to
Most
their future.
definitely.
That's a hindrance to them. I look at a lot of the young people that are great athletes in the area. and the AAU circuit exposes them to the rest of the talent in the country, and then they realize I need to practice.
Yeah.
Because sometimes you can be a big fish in a small pond,
Right.
but it isn't until you've been exposed. We say this all the time, y'all. We really thought, no disrespect to Outback, we thought that was like a premier steakhouse because we didn't have one. And when they brought one to Michiana, we like, oh, we got an Outback. So it's all right. You know what I'm saying? But then when you get the chance to eat at Steak 48, STK, you get to eat at Perry's, Ruth's Chris, all these different steakhouses, and you realize you're supposed to order your steak medium and not, you know what I'm saying, well done.
Burned all the way to the bone.
No, that's too pink.
You know what I mean? And you start to experience what real service is like.
Right.
Then it has you thinking on another level where you're like, yo,
too.
because
Real
remember back in the
service,
day
yeah.
when you broke, you go to a steakhouse and they be like, a steak is $75. You're like, man,
I'm paying $75.
I'm not gonna get a steak and shake. You know what I'm saying?
I went to Jamaica, and this is honestly God true. This was years ago, and the lady, after we got out eating, she took a little like knife and started getting all the crumbs off the table and clean everything.
Yeah.
And I felt bad, so I'm over there trying to help her. Like, no, you don't got to do that. Like, you know what I'm saying? But that's what they do.
That's
but
how
I had
they
never
serve.
experienced that level of service before. So for me, I felt guilt. Like, I need to be helping out. Like, she was over there really putting it in. Like,
And that's how she makes her money, and she's
Most
excited
definitely.
to do what
Yeah,
she
yeah.
does.
I think so. That's how she makes her money. That makes me think of a story in Costa Rica.
All right.
So we rented this. So whenever we go on a film trip, we rent a big Airbnb so we can live in it and film in it. So it's like dual purpose. So we don't have to find a place to go in the city.
location.
So we'll get in Costa. We had this big, nice, Airbnb, like a mansion kind of.
Yeah.
And so I'm looking out, and all you can see is really the countryside. And so suddenly I start hearing music playing, and I'm like, where is this music coming from? We're the only house like here.
Right.
So I go outside, I start looking, and it's this little tiny hut about big as this room. A lady is sitting in the doorway with a mud floor playing the guitar, smiling, happy, joyous.
Yeah.
And just me being exposed to that let me know that I need to be, not that I'm not appreciative, but I need to be a whole lot more
need to be more
appreciative,
grateful.
more grateful for the things I have.
Because
So
she was happy.
she was happy.
Yeah.
Like we end up going to get her groceries and stuff like that. And she was like, I was praying for something like this to happen today. But had I not been on that, I probably wouldn't have, not to say that I wouldn't be, have this level of gratefulness, but it definitely puts things in perspective.
Let me say this to you, B. And Mill, you understand. That shows a whole nother side of the spectrum. Because sometimes you need to be exposed to things that make you grateful.
Oh yeah, definitely.
There are some people who have never been exposed to the inner city hood life, the ghetto, the projects. So they have no value for what they're
compassion.
actually, no compassion, no empathy. They don't value what they have because they don't understand how blessed they are. But that's why a lot of times people will go to college, right? They go to college and they come from a silver spoon background, and then they go hang out with people that come from nothing. They like, man, you ain't never ate at something. No, I never experienced that. So sometimes, man, I believe God allows us to be exposed to things that are hard, exposed to things that are difficult, because it brings about a greater level of appreciation for what we go through.
I definitely believe that. I think that happens. I mean, anytime I'm always grateful, but anytime that I'm even like tripping, I'm like, man, it's just too much going on. I'm stressed out or whatever. God always presents a situation where I have to sit back and reflect and be like, thank you, Jesus. Like, like he just does. It's like, oh, really? You having a bad day?
When you was living in that little
Look at this dude over here.
little apartment in New York.
My walk-in closet right now is bigger than my room that I stayed in New York.
Wow.
So it's like, you got to be thankful. You got to be grateful because it's like, this is the level we at now. So never take that for granted.
Some people don't think they can be exposed to better.
Yeah.
That's right.
They don't, because they think exposure is I have to go to Hawaii or I got to go to Puerto Rico, when you could really start slow. You can start right here in the city and just go to a restaurant you never went to before. Try a dish you never tried before. Then you can drive to Chicago or,
drive to Buchanan. Like,
Yeah.
so
You
it's
go there.
It's
You gotta
people, it's
swear.
people in when we were growing up, it's people in Buchanan who wouldn't drive to South Bend because it was a big city.
20 minutes away, 15, 20
Yeah,
minutes.
where I live is 7 minutes.
Wow.
So no, I can't go to South Bend because that's too far. So you can start small, but then you got people. So I had friends in town the other week. I took them to the East Race, and they're like, "This is the coolest thing to be able to see that." You know how the river.
Yeah,
does
they
that.
never saw
They
anything
never
like
seen
that.
anything like that, and we take it for granted.
We walk past
We
it,
walk-
drive past it every single
It's
day.
nothing to us. But
That's like people over in the islands that have this beautiful blue water.
Right.
I had never seen blue water until I went to the Bahamas.
Same
I
with
seen
me,
clear
Jamaica,
water
man.
when I went to Miami, but I had never seen blue. Like I'm talking about blue water. Because up here, our water dirty. Like we don't, you know what I mean?
St. Joe River. Like, come on.
It's terrible.
There's no
So,
comparison to
but you know what, man? From my heart, I am so thankful for the courage to step out and say, Lord, show me more. This is a powerful prayer. Jabez prayed and it said, Lord, enlarge my territory. That means expose me to more, God. Let me see there's something bigger than where I'm at, because it's going to accelerate my way of thinking.
Right, yes.
But it's not so I can go back and look down on people. It's so I can challenge them like, yo, you should come over here with me. Like, I would love to travel with people that have gone certain places I've never been, like yourself, because if you've already gone, you can help me navigate
Most
that
definitely.
space. You know?
So the point I'm at in life right now is, and I've been blessed over these. I started my company probably 6 years ago,
Yeah.
and my whole mission has changed. Like, I want to take as many of my friends, my family, with me to experience some of these things I get to experience, so they can have that exposure. Because now that changes their thinking. You know, I think to me, it's no greater joy that even if I bring y'all to homecoming, y'all say, man, this is cool, B. So like that's what I want to do now, to the point where I started the foundation, a nonprofit foundation, just to teach kids, to expose them to whether it's a college trip, whether it's a scholarship, whether it's different people and speakers, even down to naming the studio Exposure Studios.
Yeah.
You know, so like
Which you just did
Exposures-
that just recently. Y'all just came off a college trip.
We
with a lot
just
of
took
those kids.
48 students on a HBCU college tour.
That's so dope.
Some of them had we did surveys before and after. Some of them had never left the city of South Bend. Some had never left the city of Buchanan, wherever they're from. After doing that survey, they all answered it. You can look on the document. All answered, yes, this was life changing. This makes me want to aspire for more. This makes me want to be better. So just that little piece of exposure.
Here's the thing, man. If a kid has the opportunity to go be to HBCU, they get exposed to like, wow, this is beautiful. When you go back and your friends like, let's smoke, let's drink, let's do. Now you like, I kind of don't want to do that no more.
Right.
Because
now
I thought
got
that
something
was
I'm trying to do.
Yeah, I thought that's all I could do.
That's right.
But now I'm seeing all these black people over here, man. They having fun. They not fighting.
Yeah.
Everybody having a good time. And they all got a common goal to be successful in life.
Right.
That level of exposure now, it makes you look at this other situation, compare them both and go, I don't want to do this no more.
Yeah.
But if I only have this to live by and gauge my life by, then I'm going to be where I am. So people will be mad, like, they always trying to raise money in church. Because when we raise money, we can
Most definitely.
sow money into a trip that
Yes,
you're doing.
that's right,
We
yes.
can bring kids to a different level of living in life. We took 40-something kids to Roost Chris Steakhouse last week. Some of the kids didn't even know how to order on the menu. They had a New York strip. One young lady asked me, said, is this a chicken stick? Because she never heard. I was like, no, baby, that's a different cut of steak. So I taught them how to order their steak. They was so proud.
Yeah.
But a lot of them are going to go home to their parents and say, Mom, I got to go to Roost Chris. Parent may have never been.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, what was it like?
Yeah.
Then now they trying to go.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well, now it may be a fight between parent and child, because the parent hasn't been exposed to it. So now they're combative. Like, that's not realistic. You know, so now you got to also expose the parent
So they
to it
won't
too, so they
try
can
to
get
kill
on-
the dream.
Right, so
of
they
the
won't
kid.
kill the dream of the kid.
Yeah, man. Yeah,
That's
man.
very true.
I remember when you were in the Source battle or something like that. What was it?
Yeah, I was in a Source battle. Well, actually, what happened was we went to go be in a Source battle in Detroit. That's where I met Proof, Eminem's close friend, R.I.P. Proof.
Yeah,
but we went there to try to be in the battle. We got there late. We performed. The Source liked me. I went back again and performed in Chicago. Made it all the way to the end. I was like in the last round. I didn't win the battle, but they liked me. They attached to my personality. And my Aisha Jordan, who was over at the time, she said, "If you come to New York, I'm gonna give you a job." And I was like, "Yeah, okay, whatever." Literally, when I got off the plane, we had to go eat and do whatever. I went and saw her in the studio. I think she was in the studio with Jizza or one of the Woo. Went in there, and she gave me a job right there on the spot. Wow. She was like, "If you hadn't stepped out and came here, you wouldn't be in this position." And I was on the Source tour for like 3 or 4 years.
You had to step out in faith.
That's right.
Watch this. You used your gift.
Yes.
Your gift exposed you to
That is correct.
more people, and then they saw you, and then you got the favor to go to another space.
Yeah.
Same thing that happened with you with your videography. You start doing one thing for this person,
Right.
they see it. Same thing that's happened with me in ministry.
Yes.
You step out, and a lot of times, man, we talked about this last week. You can be uncomfortable and be afraid to some degree.
Most definitely.
And that's what the devil, he really will try to be like, oh, you don't need to do that. Like, what would have happened if we didn't step out? You know what I'm
He'll
saying?
trap you in your fear or in your in that timidness.
Yeah.
But I think, I don't know. Like for me stepping out, I'll never forget when I left my job, I had a plan to do it like 10 months from the time I did it.
Yeah.
But I heard God say, no, you got to do it like now. And I'm like, I had just had a new son, so Emery was just born. I'm like, I can't do it. You know, I don't have no money. He
Got
said,
a
"You got-
stable situation.
Yeah, you got to do it now.
Yeah.
And I left. I put the 2-week notice in. literally like a few days later, I walk into the break room.
Yeah.
A dude is, hey man, you shoot video? Sure. Can you come shoot a video for me tonight? Yeah. And that turned into a job that probably paid me half of my yearly salary.
Wow.
Just for listening to that voice.
Yeah.
You know, so sometimes I think you already say it. You always say it. Obedience is better than sacrifice.
Always.
So
Always.
like just listening to that voice and not being scared to take that step.
And we have been talking about this for some
We-
years.
we talked
so this was a
about it, yeah.
process because he was already formulating a plan years prior to all
Already
this
shooting
happening.
video
Yeah.
with what you had.
But what I
So
had.
what he had. That's
See,
right.
man, I love this, man. If you use what you got, I always say this, and I think Joyce Meyer was the first person I heard say this. If you do what you can, God will do what you can.
Right.
So it's a matter of using what's in your hand. And so from there, I taught about David with the slingshot. He used what was in his hand. Moses used what was in his hand, and it goes down the line.
Yeah.
Of when they said, Jesus, they don't have no more wine to drink. Give me them water pots.
Right.
Those were what they used to wash people's feet. But it's just a matter of whatever's available is what I can utilize to take myself to the next space. If you go forward, God will open doors for you to be exposed because He wants you to be exposed. He told them to be fruitful, multiply, subdue, and replenish. That means you got to go further than where you are.
That's right.
And you just see so many people that live their lives afraid or stuck, or maybe they just don't know.
Right.
They're misinformed. The enemy loves to keep people blind. I was thinking about the first time I went to Canada, right? I don't eat McDonald's. Everybody know I don't eat McDonald's.
Yeah.
We were on a tour bus with Fred.
Well, when you were little, you did.
Well, when I was a
you
kid.
ate McChicken every day. But yeah,
Number 4. I got a number 4 with a chicken fajita. Why was I eating chicken fajitas at McDonald's?
It was the same combination every time.
Bro, that was rubber meat. So anyway, we got on the bus and Fred's like, yo, I'm hungry. And we had to go almost to the venue right away. And it was a McDonald's right there. So we stop at the McDonald's, right? We get off. It's me, Dave Hollister, Brian Courtney Wilson, Eric Robertson, Calvin Rogers, Philip Feaster, Snoop, Lawrence, everybody. Fred's like, I'm going to stay on the bus. Y'all bring me something back because he was resting up. Bet. We get off. I'm like, I'm going to just get some fries. I walk in the Canadian McDonald's and it smells amazing. And I'm like, why does it smell different? So Eric Roberson, he's like, I'm going to just get some fries. He gets some fries. I was hungry. And they had those Mighty Wings. Y'all remember that? When they were selling the chicken wings?
Yeah.
So I ordered the chicken wings and I bit one and I'm like, yo, these mugs taste amazing. And the girl behind the counter, she said, you from America? I said, yeah. She said, our meat is different than American
most
meat.
definitely.
They let them push anything through y'all's
Yes.
border. We have a different, code.
Different code, yeah.
So I'm eating burgers at McDonald's. It's totally different. So now I've been exposed that there is a different kind of McDonald's outside of.
You can't go back to that old McDonald's. You like, nah,
Dog.
bro, I can't never do this ever.
I didn't even know, but you know what I'm saying? So I'm judging McDonald's everywhere when it's
But
really
based
just.
off of that.
Yeah, based off of your
You know what I'm
experience.
saying? I
Yep.
think a lot of people do that.
They do.
You're going to base everything off of
Your
your
exposure.
little environment and
Yeah.
exposure when you may never experience something that Eric Roberson had us eating these fish with the head on it.
Yeah.
But we was hungry, so I tried it. Loved it. So now it's like the fish
I
just
gotta get the fish with the head.
looking at me.
Yeah.
Joy just like, you gonna eat
Oh,
me?
you don't feel guilty?
Yes.
Man, it's a quote I read. It says, "A mind stretched by a new idea cannot return to its old shape." So like once you expose this, you're not going back to that old way of thinking. It's impossible because it's already in you at this point.
Yeah, that's a great statement. But it's a bad thing, ladies and gentlemen. Some of the stuff we was exposed to, God didn't want us to see some of that stuff.
Definitely didn't want us to see.
But even in a good exposure can be bad, right?
Yeah.
So if you're exposed, now you're making more money. Now you get exposed to Texas that you weren't exposed to before.
That's to whom much is given.
Much is required.
Much is
Well,
required.
fame. Think about fame in itself. You become a target.
Most definitely.
If you can't handle 2 negative comments on your social media page,
Come
you
on.
really think you can handle fame? You
Right.
can't. You wouldn't be able to deal with
You
it.
can't deal with it.
You got people now, they're like, oh yeah, I'm gonna be famous, I'm gonna do this and that. And they got 1 negative comment and they flipping out.
And
talking
God to test them at that lowest level. Like
Yeah.
they put their little single out. Hey man, what do you guys think about it? It's trash.
It's wet.
You don't know me, and you typing a whole. Now it's 15 people that say it's fire,
great.
but
They
just
gave
the
you
one
positive
person.
energy,
but
but
it
that
shows
one
that
person.
level is too much for you. So until you can handle the next level of exposure,
Right.
you got to master this experience.
Most definitely.
correct.
It's a simple revelation that my exposure and my experience accelerates my evolution. So if I'm exposed to something too prematurely, I'm going to be moving too fast in an area. But God wants us to be at the right pace because the more we're exposed, the more we experience, the better life is. Shoes and food.
Got on my Retro 5 UNCs. My brother actually got these for my birthday, man. So rocking those today. Repping Indy. Shoes and food.
Today we got the Rubik's Cube Puma to match these comfortable sweats, but the Rubik's Cube Puma, red, blue, yellow. You already know what it is. Shoes and food.
Shoes and food.